Sup fam, Thomas here in the editing booth. Just wanted to let you know that we recorded this episode before the Monastery Swiftspear ban announcement, so you can expect to hear us talk about that next episode alongside discussions about the spoilers that came out from Murders of Karlov Manor, as well as a tournament report from James and Cameron. In the meantime, enjoy our discussion about the Paupergeddon tournament in Roma. Okay, thanks, bye!
Welcome back, everybody. We're doing another episode of Common Ground. We had some big stuff just happen in the Pauper world, but first off, I'm joined as always with my two co-hosts, Thomas Gunn. How are you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you, Cam?
Doing well, and we had a very hippopotamus birthday with Hippo.
Hello, everyone.
It's James's birthday.
Yay.
Technically yesterday, but
yeah,
we're celebrating today.
It's true.
Lots of cube is
Lots.
about to happen. But
Yes.
first, we're going to talk about some cool stuff. What are we talking about today, Cameron?
we are talking about, we had Paupergeddon happen in Italy. I can't remember which city, but they do these huge Pauper tournaments. It's just like Christmas for Pauper players because it's 500 people playing Pauper. It's sick.
We have quite a diverse metagame as well. Kind of similar to what we talked about in the last episode, where there's a lot of options, a lot of stuff is good. We're seeing a lot of that in the metagame breakdown, and also some particular favorites of you guys in deck choices that actually did quite well. I don't know if I want to say surprisingly well, but maybe better than other people may have expected.
Yes, it did.
So should we just jump right into this and just talk about the tournament right away?
Why don't you go over what the metagame overall looked like? What did it look like on the first day in Roma?
Alrighty, we had 502 players in total. The most popular deck in the room will not shock anybody. It was mono red, and that includes the Kadoltha and Pinger's version all tied into one, with 57 players at 11.4%. And so that was a good showing there. Then the second most played deck, which just kind of shocked me, was 54 people playing red-white synthesizer at 10.8%. Then we had glitter decks at 48, and this is kind of a new deck, and it is represented here. That was 9.6% of the meta.
Now, is that differentiating? Are we assuming this is differentiating from the affinity lists? Like, this is probably like the glitter affinity aggro lists?
You know, it has affinity here too, separate. So I'm gonna guess that's what it means by glitters, because
Glitters is just a specific card. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it itself is an affinity deck, but it is a little bit different than the classic. Well, now classic, but the Grixis affinity deck.
it's a little confusing too, because I know there's like some synthesizer decks playing glitter, so it's like.
In fact, the winning list of the tournament was playing synthesizer in its glitters deck.
Oh, we'll get there. That's
It's a
sick.
sick list.
Then we got 45 copies of Gardens at 9%, which makes me super happy.
The fourth most played deck.
Yep.
Deck is sick.
It was there. And we got 41 copies of Caw Gates at 8.2% of the meta. Then 34 copies of Blue Terror that we picked at 6.8% of the meta. Then we got 21 copies of Blue-Black Terrors, jumping around a little bit, keeping the Terrors next to each other at 4.2% of the meta. Then I'm going to go and stop at 29 copies of Blue-Black Fairies, and that's 5.8% of the meta. So it's like good diverse, and I should mention that there was 87 copies of other decks that had, I think, 8 or less representations, which is super cool. So like some Ephemerate decks mixed in there, Altertron, that kind of stuff.
It's interesting if you add the two terror piles together, the blue-black and the mono-blue, you get a total of 55 decks, which gets us up to the second most played deck if you combine those together.
Can we segue that into day 2 performance of Terror?
Sure. How did it do?
Horrendous.
Oh,
yeah,
my.
it did not place a single copy, I believe, in the entire top 32.
And we were just praising it last episode too.
Yeah,
saying
this is like the efficient tempo deck of the format, and it just got absolutely trounced.
So it was 55 copies day 1, down to 7 or 9 copies day 2. But that conversion rate of the combined decks is 12.8% converted, which is bad.
Oof. Yeah, I believe this has a lot to do with just how many mono red decks were in the room. If you get to play just a bunch of really your threats are way too aggressive, backed up by some red blasts. Like you're just gonna run these Terror decks over.
I think mono red,
and I think Gardens also has a lot to do with that as well.
We're all about to say that mono red went under. Gardens just Chainer's Edict, snuff out the file where it's ready. Gardens beats up Terror. Mono red beats it up by going under. So it's just rough day for Terror. And we just want to talk about some conversion rates for day 2 then?
Yeah. Pick the ones that you think are really interesting.
Cool. Yeah. I'm going to jump around. We'll start mono red, I guess.
Sure.
Probably should put how many day 1. So day 1 there, like I said, there's 57 mono red decks. And day 2, there's 15 red decks. So it's 15% of day 2. And that put it at a 26.3% conversion rate, which is pretty healthy. That's what you expect from a red deck. Show up. And Golgari Gardens had a 28.9% conversion rate, which makes me super happy. So
Same.
It's a good deck to be on that weekend. And no one wants to hear us just say percentage. So the last one I want to touch on was Affinity, not the Glitters Affinity.
But traditional Grixis Affinity.
I'm not quite sure with this all in capsules, but it had a 42.9%.
Yeah, the people that are on that deck tend to be very good at it because it does take a lot of practice to be very good with.
Is that the best deck in the format?
I don't think it's the best deck in the format, but I think if you're very good with it, you're very good with it.
I agree. So that's super cool. Any Coggates also did super well. I should mention that. Coggates had a 24.3% conversion rate, which is also pretty good. So that mono red, Golgari Gardens, and Affinity and Coggates all above that 25% conversion rate.
Nice. It's always interesting to look at these things because the total players in day 2 is about 98 players, so that's 19.5% of the day 1 field. So if any of these, the general rule of thumb is if any of these archetypes numbers go above the flat percentage conversion of the total players, then you can assume that they had a relatively favorable conversion into day 2. So that affinity list at 40, that's speaking to James's point of player aptitude. I can definitely see that being the case. And also just mono red being the most played deck, having a very strong conversion rate. The Gardens list being the second most present deck into day 2 is honestly, I think, the story of the tournament here. Like you were saying, it beats up on Terror. It's also, I think it has a closer mono red match than Terror, but I think it has the tools to make it a very good matchup for Gardens. I've had middling success. I mean, I've really only played against the 2 of you on Gardens, and I've won some, I've lost some. So it's hard for me to just say for personal experience. But it looks like this was Gardens' tournament.
So Gardens got some new tools here as well. It dropped Chainer's Edict. It doesn't play that anymore. We're now playing Tithing Blade from Lost Caverns of Ixalan. So it's a 2-mana artifact. When it enters battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a creature, and you can craft with an artifact. If you don't know what that does, you exile this artifact and a creature you control from your grave. Okay, so you craft it, exile a creature.
Does anyone know what this does?
Okay.
It's different for everyone.
So the card Tithing Blade that you're referring to, when it enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a creature. You can craft with creature, and on this one it is 4 and a black. You can exile this artifact, exile a creature you control, or a creature card from your graveyard. Return this card transformed under its owner's control, but you can only craft as a sorcery. And the backside of this is, at the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life.
So it has some use, but it's probably just getting sacrificed to your cast down, or not your cast downs, but your Reckoner's Bargains and stuff like that, or Deadly Dispute. And speaking of the Deadly Dispute effects, it now plays a new Deadly Dispute effect in Fanatical Offering from Lost Caverns of Ixalan. So this has the text of, as additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature. You will draw 2 cards and make a map token instead of a treasure. Mm-hmm. So, don't know how much that's better than Reckoner's Bargain, but I guess we'll find out. It seems like it did pretty well.
Yeah, I believe this is a case of whether you really want to hedge your bets against mono red more than anything.
For sure.
Because you're going to have a more powerful late game than basically any other deck in the format. So I believe this is just a call. Okay, I want to go just to be a little bit bigger than everybody else.
Yeah, and it looks like every list I'm giving a little preview here, but it looks like every Gardens list in top 8 is doing some sort of split, like 2 or 3 of each, like all 4 disputes, and then 2 or 3 each of Fanatical Offering / Reckoner's Bargain.
Also, kind of like new with the deck is it seemed like it congealed to all of them were playing Defile that did well.
Yeah, this is a lot to do with just having a more efficient answer to earlier threats like Michael Monastery Swiftspear specifically, just to have a clean answer to it.
And it scales great in the late game too.
It's still fantastic. So yeah, this deck is actually foregoing the idea of the Golgari Rot Farm to bounce the gardens a bunch and the Bojuka Bogs. Also, you're not playing Bojuka Bogs anymore. Fun fact. I think because your Terra matchup is just absolutely so good that you don't really need it.
Who cares?
Yeah, your deck's a pile of removal spells for their 8 creatures. Like, they just can't beat you. So I think getting away from all these non-swamp lands makes it way better to play a really, really efficient removal spell in Defile.
And with that, it cut the 3-mana creature, the 2 and a green, 2/2 that taps for a green when it enters battlefield, draw a card.
Llanowar Visionary.
Mm-hmm. No, nobody was playing that. No, I shouldn't say nobody, but for the most part, so the changes for this deck was Tithing Blade, Fanatical Offering, cutting that green creature, and everybody's on Defile. Not a lot of snuff outs.
Yeah. Also, another thing to note is actually we've moved away from the full max copies of Ichor Wellspring and actually split it between that and Lembas as well.
That's a good anti-red tech as well.
Yeah, that's so you can get away from some of the other things that you were using to beat the red decks, away from those like Reckoner's Bargain style cards.
Yeah. Should we run through the top 8 then? If we're jumping into these gardens lists?
We're just not going to talk about gardens the entire day.
Yeah, I mean, we could. We seem to be a garden fanboy podcast.
Here we are, for sure. One last point on gardens, because I'm a horrendous human being that loves this deck. Not a lot of snuff outs, like we said, which is great with the mono red being so present, which with these big events, I think you can expect mono red to be the fair share of the deck.
Yeah, it's super cheap. It's super fast. If you just want to get your rounds over with, go grab some food in between. This is the deck to play.
Oh, for sure.
All right, let's take a look at this top 8. In 8th place, Moretti Alessandro with Familiars. This looks like a blue-white version of the deck. You also have in 7th place another Familiars list from Travella Marco. Looks to be close to the same list. They have some sideboard differences. And one of them is not playing Merchant Scroll, it looks like.
Oh, they're both playing Merchant Scroll.
Oh, they are both playing. One of them is not on Preordain.
That's the card. That's the card I want to talk about. Having access to Merchant Scroll in your deck that's already trying to play the Familiar itself, making Merchant Scroll cost 1 to go find Ephemerate, to go find Ghostly Flicker, to go find all these really, and also powerful answers that we've decided to like toolbox this deck for, and like Destroy Evil, Essence Scatters, Snaps being the big card for the deck, and the new one, the Meeting of Minds as well. But yeah, having a way to just tutor up anything you need at any point with a Merchant Scroll is pretty sweet.
Yeah, both of these lists are running copies of Destroy Evil on the board. Yeah, that's pretty good.
This is a deck I've never played. It looks like a deck I would love to play because I love Ephemerate, and I've also never played against it.
So I have played this deck. I played it one time. If you're, and I kind of played it blindly. If you are not familiar with the quick math, this deck will take you quite some time to play throughout the day. It will be a little bit draining having to figure out the math over and over again. But it's a very powerful deck. It has the only thing that it goes against it is it being pretty susceptible to just like a removal spell. Like if you can remove either the way to go make infinite life with the Godfair's Faithful or the Familiar itself, it makes going off a lot harder.
So probably like not the easiest Gardens matchup.
Probably not the best Gardens matchup.
Yeah.
Crypt Rat seems like the bane of their existence.
No, cool. Looks like a cool deck. I kind of want to play this sometime too because I don't have a lot of experience with combo decks in Pauper versus other formats. I think this is the best current combo deck that there is in the format because it also just gets to play a fair game too with like Muldrifters attacking, and that's what we have like the data showing us too because we had a 18.2% conversion rate, which is pretty good, and the other combo deck in the format, Walls Combo, only had a 6.3% conversion rate, which is terrible.
Yeah, when your deck's not able to, attack, yeah, it might hinder your ability to if you have to combo off every single game.
What do we get in sixth place, Gun?
In sixth place, we have our first Gardens list from Manella Stefano. This looks like a pretty standard, newer version of the list now with the Tithing Blades, the Lembus, the no bounce lands, the Fanatical Offerings, basically everything we were talking about. So nothing too out of the ordinary there. A very strong deck. In fifth place, homie, we got our mono red deck. This is a Koldatha red deck featuring 4 copies of a new common from Lost Caverns of Ixalan, the Goblin Tomb Raider, which is better Goblin Guide if you have an artifact, which is insane to me, but it's Pauper. It's a red mana for a 1/2 Goblin Pirate, and as long as you control an artifact, it gets +1/+0 and haste. Your opponent does not get to reveal, or does not have to reveal, the top card of their library if it's a land. This is just better Goblin Guide in this deck. It's insane.
Whoa. Bold.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to think how many artifacts are actually in this deck. You have an artifact in your mana base, which is crazy. Yeah, so this makes this like really, really attractive. It's a really aggressive card.
Something like this is kind of exactly what I've been hoping for against the decks that are trying to just like 1-for-1 you, like turns like 2, 3, 4 or whatever. This is something that they have to deal with right away. This is something that, like, I've been thinking of, what's that, Gitu Lavamancer, which is a 1 mana 1/2 that gets +1/+0 and haste if you have 2 spells in your graveyard. But that's just too slow and ineffective. Something like this is so much more reliable to turn on.
I think it's Gitu Lava Runner.
Gitu Lava Runner. Excuse me. Lavamancer is a different card. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But otherwise, this is, the Goblin Blast Runners version with Bushwhacker and Koldatha Rebirth. So this is trying to go wide, trying to smash as quickly as possible. It is playing 2 Fire Blasts, which I think is interesting in the 4 Great Furnace mana base. But that probably speaks to their success in the tournament of just having a little extra kill you really fast option that some of the Koldatha versions of the burn deck are not leaning towards much these days. And then the synthesizers and so on.
And this was the highest placing red deck, correct?
Yes.
I believe so, yeah. And no Rin's Resolves effects. 0.
No, I don't think you want those if you're not playing like the Thermo Alchemists and the Flame Breathers of the world. Maybe you could, you can argue that they're good with Swiftspear and you can, flip more burn spells or fire blasts off of them. But I think without the pingers, the generating value off of the impulse draws are just not quite as strong. That's what I think. I could be totally off base, but that's what I think.
I believe this is just more leaning into you don't need the style of cards in this version because you're just way too aggressive with your 1-drops. Like, you are wanting to use your mana every single turn because you will not have very much of that in play at any point during the game.
Yeah, and the synthesizer is an impulse draw. It's an impulse draw that's also an artifact for all of your artifact synergies. So,
along with Implement of Combustion as well.
Yep, that's true.
Another free draw there.
Is it safe to say that this version is sacrificing a little bit that late game with the Rin's Resolve effects, but in return, it's just gaining, like, I am going to kill you by turn 4?
Yes.
Like, I am putting the beat down, you will die.
Yes, I would agree with that.
And I think you're being generous with a turn 4. I think it's a turn 3.
So
I think it's very easily a turn 3 deck.
So, Gun, as the red mage here, what version do you think you like more?
I'm partial to the burn deck, but having something like Goblin Tomb Raider printed definitely leans me into wanting to try something like this out. This looks very powerful, and to have a success like a top 8 finish, the only red deck in our top 8, and we've got 2 other red decks in our top 16 that we might go over later, to have a strong finish in a pretty hostile field where Gardens did really well, speaks volumes to me just looking at this list. And a very clean sideboard. 4 smashes, 4 pyroblast, 4 searing blaze, 2 end the festivities for the mirror, and 1 flaring pain just in case.
Don't want to lose those fog effects.
Or prismatic strands, which I learned recently that's also why that's there.
That is exactly why that card's there.
Card's a house against mono red.
Prismatic strands. That card is absolutely disgusting.
In 4th place, we have our lone fairies player in, I believe, all of top 16, if I'm looking through. This is a blue-black fairies list from Audizi Alessio. They've got a couple of the monarch creatures. They have a couple murmuring mystics to make a bunch of tokens. This looks pretty strong.
No angler, which is weird. Like a lot of decks usually play 1 or 2 Gurmag anglers, and it's just not there. But other than that, this is seems like the kind of stock fairies list we're used to seeing again.
It looks like there was actually another one in top 16.
Oh, in top 16, did I miss?
Top 16?
Oh, there's Dimir Control.
It's just basically the
But
same
it is
thing.
the same thing.
It's basically the same. It's the same deck.
They got me. It's in that one has an angler.
Oh, there you
They
go.
got
There you go.
Deck
But-
names.
But back to this top 4 list.
Yes.
Yeah, this looks super clean. This is I think this moves over to being the tempo control deck of the format
Agree.
instead of over Terror, because Terror just gets eaten alive by a lot of the metagame now.
It seems like this list doesn't care about like individual creatures as much. Like you don't care if someone's defiling your Augur Bolus, or it sucks if your Ninja of the Deep Hours dies. You would hopefully like to draw a card out of it, but more Mold Drifters and Baneslayer Angels.
Yeah, also like a lot of the one-of toolbox answers here as well, alongside the Familiars deck from earlier, getting to play things like Agony Warp and a Singleton Chainer's Edict and Echoing Decay and Suffocating Fumes are pretty nice.
But other than that, no like major or any really deviations from what we're used to seeing. Just a question: what do you play the Rotten Reunion for?
If you're just planning on going longer, that's the idea.
In third place, we have another Gardens deck.
Woo!
This is pretty similar to the other list that we're looking at. Full set of cast downs, only 3 Tithing Blades, 2 Candy Trails, which is interesting. Just another value artifact. Sideboard looks pretty similar.
Hippo is Candy Trail, a card you've tested out at all? 'Cause
I
haven't
have
played
not
it.
personally gotten to play this one yet.
Me neither. And I can't see liking it more than Icar Wellspring or anything. I guess the only appeal to it is getting to play it on turn 1. So turn 2, you can play one of your Deadly Dispute effects.
You can. I think I would just rather I personally would rather stick to more of the traditional or Icar Wellspring style, or the Limbus as well.
I would rather have a Blood Fountain than a Candy Trail in my deck, I think.
I would agree with that.
Those little grindier matchups. But no notes.
No notes. And that was from Trufaz James. Our second place list, our finalist list. This is another Gardens list by Los Tomaso, and it looks fairly similar. They're not playing the Candy Trails. They have all 4 Tithing Blades. Sideboard looks similar. We've got 3 Crypt Rats, 3 Monarch creatures. Yeah, 3 of all the creatures. Full set of Defile, full set of Cast Down. 1 Duress in the main, which is interesting. This is kind of along the lines of what we've been talking about. Just a really strong list.
This is a lean, clean killing machine.
Defile seems to be the way in these decks.
Yeah,
Especially,
it just having that super efficient answer is just, I think, just the better move forward.
It breaks my heart. Snuff Out's kind of seeing its way out a little bit, but like in a meta full of mono red that's trying to murder you fast, paying for life to kill a 2/2 even isn't the best.
Yeah, I know. Thomas and I actually played some games where I had to snuff out one of the pingers, and I'm like, that feels horrendous, but I know that card's going to deal me more than 4 damage across the game.
Right. And then our winning list, and I'm excited to talk about this. I love this list. This is a Jeskai All That Glitters Affinity Synthesizer list by Elvizi Federico. This is awesome. I'm just gonna read through. You can check in the show notes to see the list, but I'm just gonna read through it because I think this is awesome.
Sick.
Oh, it is disgusting.
So we have 4 Ornithopters, 4 Gingerbrutes, 3 Thraben Inspectors, which I think is one too few Thraben Inspector, but I'm going to trust the person who won. 4 Frogmites, 4 Mirror Enforcers, so you have your affinity shell of creatures, 4 Glinthawks, 1 Core Skyfisher, 4 Galvanic Blast, 4 Thoughtcast, 4 Experimental Synthesizer, 4 Springleaf Drum, 4 All That Glitters, 16 lands, and none of them are not... All of them are artifacts. All the lands are artifacts. You have... It looks like 10, 11... Wait, 1, 4, 7. 7 tapped indestructible artifact lands, 9 untapped original Mirrodin artifact lands, This list looks
Yeah.
so sick.
Well, yeah, like, so your goal is to puke out your hand on turn 1, I'm guessing, and let's suit up a creature for all that glitters, and let's kill our opponent.
Yeah, and you get to back this up by having 2 of the best card advantage spells in the format, and Thoughtcast and Synthesizer.
It's so cool. So they just took Affinity in Synthesizer,
Yeah.
and they just had a baby together, just mushed the 2 decks together. It is sick. I love this deck. I personally cannot wait to play this.
I also am looking forward to playing this. I do want to note, this is a wild sideboard to me.
Oh, the sideboard
Yes,
is
The
so
sideboard for
cool.
this deck is nuts to me. So it plays 4 copies of both the Crimson Acolyte and the Obsidian Acolyte. Acolytes are from the Odyssey block.
IPA block.
Yeah, they're from. Yeah, each of them has pale white, give protection of either red for the Crimson Acolyte, or on the black side the Obsidian Acolyte. Yeah, your stuff is not gonna die. They came teched for Gardens, and they came teched for Mono Red. They were not playing around. They also play 4 copies of Standard Bearer.
Oh, that's IPA block. I'm sorry. The other ones might be Odyssey block.
Yeah, they are. They're Odyssey.
My bad.
Trust the hippo.
I'll trust the hippo next time. My bad. But you just get to play 16 lands too, which is wild because your deck curves out at 2. That is the end of your deck. Besides, your Thought Cast is going to cost 1. Let's be honest.
Every single card in your deck, other than Galvanic Blast and Thoughtcast, either makes an artifact or is an artifact.
And Core Skyfisher, the only, I guess that can be 3 CMC. If you go Core Skyfisher, bounce something, play it again, that's your 3 CMC. But
I love the Singleton Core Skyfisher. That is warms my heart.
And this is kind of like, we were talking about how Boros Synthesizer last episode, we were like, this is like secretly a good burn deck. This is like legit just a good kill you deck.
Yeah, this deck's not messing around. This deck will absolutely nail you to the ground really, really quickly.
This is sick.
Yeah, they also want to note, they beat in the finals and the semifinals, they beat both of the Gardens decks.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that's a testament to like how taking the best removal spell deck in the format, and this didn't drop it to them. So that's something to be said about that.
Which is, I wonder if they got it in 3, because I'm thinking like game 1 I would rather be on the Garden side game 1.
I agree.
But for Gardens, it's really hard to beat Obsidian Acolyte, that pro black creature.
I would agree. I think the best way to do that is just to have killed everything before this hits the board, and then have one of those like edict effects to just get rid of it. Also, I think one of the Gardens answers in the sideboard, getting to play Deglammer for those either to Stone Rain your opponent or to remove all that glitters, is pretty huge as well, because you can't stop that with the old acolytes there, can you?
And in top 8, we didn't get a Coggates, did we? In
Nope.
top 8?
That was I made a comment last night to Thomas. I was like, there was not a single Coggates deck in the top 8.
And not to say it's like had a poor performance at all, because I think it's 9th and 10th, if I'm correct.
It has 3 copies in top 16.
So that's good. Like it's definitely there.
This is just, it's a really hard deck to play. You're going to be playing long rounds every single round. It's tiring.
What made me think about that was seeing the 4 Standard Bearers, because that card is such a house against Coggates, because if Standard Bearer's out, if they try to pump with their Basilisk Gate, it has to target your Standard Bearer. So their way to win is just not there. And Coggates is a different beast when you have a Basilisk Gates or not. Like the games where you do not have a Basilisk Gate, your deck is horrendous.
Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing on rate. Like, you're playing really inefficient cards at that point.
Speaking to James's point about the first place player playing both Gardens lists, they also, I checked, there's a photo of the bracket on Pauperwave.com. Our winner also played the red player in the first round of top 8. The red player was the first seed, and our Jeskai Affinity Synth player was the 8th seed. So they were on the draw against this very fast red deck.
They were faster.
So speaking to James's point about these acolytes were there for a reason. I think the Standard Bearers are also really smart, because you have these decks that are just going to go hard on their removal against a deck like this, and Standard Bearer plus the 4 acolytes of your choosing are just great lightning rods, so your thing that has all the glitters won't die over the first couple turns.
I also want to make note that this Jeskai Glitters deck did not play a single blast in the 75. There are no blue blast, red blast effects. It just doesn't need them.
No,
it does not need them.
That's incredible. And then just the relics are there to just help clean up against the terror decks, I imagine.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea.
I know we keep like banging on this point, but like you said with the no blast, like their sideboard was super focused. They're like, I do not want you to kill my glitters creature. This glitters creature is gonna stick, and I'm going to murder you with it.
Yeah, having a super clean sideboard like this, they knew what they wanted to have happen across the tournament. They knew what they were going to play against, and they played against those things and beat them because of their choices.
In the top 8, there is a lack of dust to dust too. It seems like there's not a lot of no white decks besides this deck. Is that correct?
There was the Flicker deck.
Oh, okay, yes, but they don't play dust to dust in the sideboard, do they?
They have moved away from that recently. They play like a Disenchant instead.
Oops.
Also, on the Flicker side, their Marina base really has a hard time supporting white.
Pack your dust to dust, kids. It's not safe out there.
Yeah, if you don't want to lose to this, pack the dust to dust. Because I know I'll speak to another format for just a second. Back in the day, if you didn't pack your hate cards for Affinity, you lost to it. And they reminded you why you absolutely have to have your hate cards for Affinity.
2 for 2. This will be a thing. Every episode will remind people, pack your hate.
Play your dust to dust. And this might just be like, this deck was an up and comer. Like, this was new. Nobody saw it coming. So it could just be like, hey, this was a good choice for this weekend. People might be expecting this going into like future Moto challenges and stuff. So I hope this deck's here to stay. It just wasn't a quick gotcha, because it's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, I agree. This deck looks really, really sweet.
Is there anything in top 16 you guys want to go over?
Can we talk about Coggates?
Yeah.
Okay, so we didn't have any Coggates in the top 8, which we might have said already, but that's a little sad, but we did have it in 9th, 10th, and 11th, so it was there. It put up good results. It was just a few matches away from top 8.
Yeah, I guess I said, I think the idea here is that it's just a really long match style deck. Your every game is going to go long. Like you're the de facto like blue control deck of the format. Your games are just inherently going to go long. When your chances of winning a game come down to attacking with 1/1s to come across the finish line, your games are going to be slow. That's just the fact of the matter. And they probably came into the idea of match fatigue probably was a big player on that.
And a couple of these are also likely to be like the lost side of a winning into top 8 for like one of the higher seeds. Like weren't able to draw in at table 4 or 5 or whatever. And these 3 lists just being stacked right up there, right on the edge of making it into the top cut. They definitely were a strong choice for the day. They definitely were played well by whoever played them. But yeah, like you're saying, James, just a long fatigue over a day. Gardens maybe being able to attack on a different angle. I was going to say the new red deck being faster, but I think this deck still just like eats the red decks alive.
This is a good deck to be on if you think there's going to be a lot of mono red. Prismatic Strands is a house.
Yeah, also having the free discard from specifically the Modern Age is huge on that front too. So if you just need to like get it down really early and tap one of these dinky creatures that you've got in play.
And I'm sure Sacred Cat's also a giant thorn.
Sacred Cat plus a Basilisk Gate is game over for the mono red player.
And I'm sure if like mono red, you almost have to keep up that bolt if they try to target Sacred Cat. And if they're bolting your 1-mana 1/1 that can come back from the graveyard, you're sitting pretty.
Yeah, not in a good spot.
I will note the 2 higher seeding lists both played copies of Arms of Hadar in their sideboards, so they came ready to beat down some mid-rangey creatures. And then the third list played no copies of that. Just to note that. They also played 4 copies of Dust to Dust in their board. They were not ready to lose to Affinity.
They were prepared.
They came packing the hate.
In 12th place, just below these Gates deck, we have the next mono red deck. and they are playing the new Goblin Tomb Raider. They are not playing Blast Runner and Bushwhacker. This is a little closer to a hard burn version with Rebirth. No Fire Blasts, but they're playing a couple of Lava Darts, and they're playing 4 Reckless Impulse, 2 Rends Resolve. So this is the version that Cameron was kind of alluding to that is playing the Impulse Draw cards, but maybe does not have quite the punch that you can just go wide and smack people down. You still have Rebirth, which is still very strong. But this one's not quite all in on aggro and can maybe play a little bit of a longer game, but also very close to making that crack into top 8.
I love the Singleton Searing Blaze here.
I also like Singleton Searing Blaze. Like, it's when you have to take it out, like in sideboarding, it's the so easiest bad. Card. It's the easiest card to cut. It's so bad, but when it's good, it's great.
They also have their Goblin Bushwhackers in the board.
I just saw that. That's fascinating to me.
They just want to go a little bit quicker. They can just board in the Bushwhacker and get them dead.
Can I bring us to 28th place?
Yeah.
We have Mono Blue. So Mono Blue, and this isn't Terror, this is Mono Blue Fairies. Like, this was a huge titan in Pauper for a while. In Lord of the Rings, I don't even know if it was Lord of the Rings I did it in, but all of a sudden this deck just kind of like disappeared, and it didn't have a great showing in this meta either. Not a lot of people playing it. And if we look at the last Paupergeddon it was in Pisa, it was in 2023, so I think it was the summer. So it was this last summer's Paupergeddon. Mono Blue Fairies was the most popular deck.
I think a lot of this has to do with the what at the time was the uptick in Terror being the de facto like mono blue deck to play. No, this person stuck true to their guns, and they put up a solid result.
Yeah, I'd say like 28, as in like that's bad out of 500 people.
No, that's fantastic. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'd be very happy with that result. So that's cool. It's interesting because I think that's the lone copy in the top 32.
Yeah, the one card that this deck did get post of that last Paupergeddon was the Snare Master Sprite.
Oh, what does that do?
It's just kind of like a tap down fairy that you can reset with the ninjas. It's pretty sweet.
Cool.
Puts a stun counter on a thing. Kind of cool.
Another difference I kind of want to touch on real quick from last Paupergeddon. I remember the last one, I think it was like 2 or 3 just Boro synthesizer decks in the top 8, and just not as strong as a showing for my pet deck here.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with how either fast the format is from like the mono red perspective, or not just mono red, but also like these glitters decks are way too quick for it as well. I think another aspect of that is how controlling these garden decks are. It turns out if your plan is to like win with a 2/2 in the air, that's probably not going to get you there. They have got a pile of removal spells. You're not gonna get a creature across. They're gonna try to burn you out, but you have these Limbuses in your deck, and if you can just cycle through Limbus through your deck, you're gonna be fine.
You gotta eat that bread.
Yeah, you got Reckoner's Bargains and Limbuses, and you're gonna have a good time.
I guess we did have a Boros in place in 15th place, which is a pretty good result.
I mean, a top 16 out of 500 players is nothing to
scoff at.
Yeah.
No. I did see I can't find it now, of course, so now I feel like a liar. Maybe I made this up in my head. Gunn, you and I were talking a little bit before we turned on our mics, but there is a synthesizer list that was playing the Boros Synth Shell, but it had the Gates package, so it cut the Galvanic Blast.
Sure.
And then it played Basilisk Gate and all that, and I really liked that approach. I remember I didn't have all the cards in the middle yet for one of our Pauper monthly things, and I just remember playing Gates and playing Basilisk Gate in my Boros Synth deck, and like, this felt really good.
Yeah, I think you also put like a Navigator's Compass in your deck too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you doing well with this one.
I remember that one too. I mean, that was my first introduction to Gates, was playing against that. And I was like, oh, what is this pile of awful cards for me to have to play against in the mono red seat?
Where's that deck at? Where did I see it? Did I make that up?
Oh, that was the list that I was talking about that did well in the challenge.
I saw it before you even came. Gunn and I were talking about it because I saw it somewhere.
Oh, these red decks got to get this Autonomous Furnace out of their decks.
Yeah, that card's really bad.
Yeah, don't play this card.
What's Autonomous Furnace?
It's the worst Forgotten Cave. Just play Forgotten Cave in your deck. Good lord. Like I don't even recommend playing Forgotten Cave. If you're gonna play one of the like lands that does another thing, play Forgotten Cave.
No, if you're gonna play a red land that's not a mountain, play a Great Furnace.
Well, yeah, they're already doing that. So
Well, this one isn't.
Oh,
this
well,
one. This
but I have-
is a list. This is top 32.
Well,
I'm gonna throw some shade.
We're putting people on blast now.
I'm sorry. I don't like your list. Anyway, that's my hot take. There's a lot more mono red in top 32, which makes sense. It had a good conversion rate. So, but it looks like people are trying out this Tomb Raider. This Tomb Raider looks pretty good.
I also want to throw it back to several years ago. We've come a long way from the card Valley Dasher. Let me tell you.
Hell yeah, we have. This thing just gets to stick around.
Familiar with old Valley Dasher over there, Cameron?
No.
One in a red for a 2/2 with haste, and it has to attack every single combat step. That was one of the old mono red cards. How far we've come.
Cons of Tarkir draft
Chaff.
D+.
I was like, chaff. Let's be real.
Okay, online, when you kind of like get a grasp of Pauper, like if you like look at this is also Reddit, and Reddit loves to complain, but like you always hear people saying like Ephemerate's super like toxic, and it's really only the Familiars deck that's using Ephemerate to its full potential. It kind of makes me sad there's not a lot of I'm gonna value Ephemerate. Why is that?
I think the idea is that having that combo finish, people tend to not like having a combo deck in the format. People like to complain. I think it is super healthy to have this style of combo deck in the format. I mean, it gives you, like you say, it's a fair deck as well. You get to just play the super fair game. But yeah, having that backup of an Ephemerate loop is super sweet.
But the other Ephemerate decks we have the Jeskai Ephemerate deck, which is just straight up a control deck. That didn't really have a strong showing at all.
I think it put 1 or 2 copies into the top 32 of Paupergeddon.
And then, okay, so it's not bad. But then like Black-White Ephemerate. Remember, like that was kind of like the hotness for a little bit.
That was the hotness for about a month, and then it died immediately.
Yeah, I like that deck. I remember it happened because I think we only had we had 2 Jeskai Ephemerates day 2 and 1 Black-White Ephemerate day 2. That's
I'm
it.
curious to. I guess the idea of playing Black-White Ephemerate is that you just absolutely annihilate mono red, probably, but you lose to like everything else.
Sadness.
Like you're playing a worse Gardens deck. Let's be real here.
Altertron too, a deck that we said usually has stronger paper performances. Not super hot here. Put 2 in day 2, which isn't horrendous, but
Is that the only Tron deck that day 2'd?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think so. Yeah, it is. So like no Flickertron.
No Flickertron.
So
wow, that's a fall from grace. I must say.
Flickertron's definitely more cool.
That has everything to do with exactly how relevant mono red is. If at any point mono red is not like one of the number 1 decks or the Glitters deck, either of them, I think the Flickertron deck's a really, really cool deck. It goes absolutely bigger than every other deck in the format. Obviously, it's like a Tron deck. It's the idea. So it absolutely annihilates the long game if you're able to get to the long game.
Who knew?
I know, crazy.
We got anything else? Like any closing thoughts at all for Paupergeddon? It looks super sick. I can't wait till we get to go to one eventually.
That would be pretty sick.
That would be pretty sick.
Are there any other newer cards that stood out to you guys? We saw Tithing Blade. We saw the Goblin Tomb Raider. We saw what else we saw the Fanatical Offering. I don't know. I'm quickly just like skimming through these lists trying to see if there's anything else that's new. Is there anything else from Lost Caverns of Ixalan that's popped out to you guys?
No, I believe those are the notable mentions.
And like big, like not small changes too. Like Gardens deck just changing a lot.
Yeah, it looks very different from when it first hopped on the scene.
It's last month since we played it.
Yeah.
Even.
Yeah, it's changed a ton. And I love that there are different versions of it you can play too. I like that they obviously have come down to the initiative being the stronger of the two, but the fact that you have the options is also really cool too.
Welcome back to our podcast where we talk about Golgari Gardens only in this niche format.
I don't know if you can tell, we like this deck.
That's cool.
It's a good deck, and it's fun. It's fun to play.
We'll talk about Synthesizer every once in a while too.
This is true. Well, that crosses over on everyone's fronts.
Yes, we all like Synthesizer. Hell yeah. But no, I love this first place list, this Jeskai Glitters Affinity synthesizer list. It looks super sweet. I would love to play this at some point. I think the Acolytes were a really strong decision for this event. And they were rewarded being, paired up against red Gardens, red deck, black deck in the top 8. So Yeah, props to LVC Federico, and props to everyone else who made top 8. These sound like awesome events. It's really cool that the Italian Pauper community is so strong, and that they really like supporting that.
Yeah, I love that format gets a lot of love over there, and
yes,
I don't blame them. Pauper's sweet. You could hand them a legacy tournament, they'd have the same show out. They love some Magic.
Hell yeah,
it's awesome.
One more thing before we sign off. We are a couple months out from MagicCon Chicago, which is relatively close for us here in the States. They announced a bunch of tournaments. We don't have a ton of details, but they announced a bunch of tournaments that they're going to run as side events. I unfortunately have to play the Pro Tour.
What a loser.
Oh no.
Jeez, how lame.
But but they
What's
announced,
it like being good at Magic?
I'm gonna retake that because that sounded so douchey.
I thought it was funny.
It was funny. I'm gonna say it a different way. All right, I'm gonna just retake that whole thing. One last thing before we sign off. MagicCon Chicago is coming up in February of this coming year, and they've just started to announce a bunch of tournaments that they will be having on site as part of the con, and one of them is a Pauper Cup. I believe it's a $40 tournament to play, and it'll be like 7 or 8 rounds, cut to top 8, pretty top-end heavy prizes. I think it's in prize tickets, but this is probably one of the bigger United States-based, like, organized Pauper tournaments we might have in the coming months.
The only one I know about.
Yeah, this is the only one I know about. This will probably rival the one time I believe that at some GP or another there was a Pauper PTQ, a paper Pauper PTQ.
Wow.
What year?
2018, 2019.
That'd be a fun episode. Go talk about that.
Go
deep dive into history.
Yeah.
That would be cool. We'll have to
Yeah,
bookmark that one for later.
I definitely would love to talk about some history of Pauper. That would be great.
But yeah, so there's this Pauper Cup happening. I believe it's on the Saturday of the MagicCon.
It's gonna be a day 2 event. It does say max is 7 rounds.
Okay.
And it's gonna cut to a top 8 that's gonna play on Sunday.
Okay.
I have to imagine that your record has to be very, very good. You basically have to just go undefeated in this thing to
Probably depending on how many people show up, like undefeated or like some X ones.
I imagine that this will attract a lot of people that are already just going for these generic, MagicCon events. They'll love this. This will be great.
Yeah.
I would love to go to this.
I am for sure. Myself, I am going. I have family visiting in February. I really hope it's not this weekend. I can't remember, but if it's a different weekend, I'm for sure going to be going to this. I'm super pumped for it. Hippo, I probably should say, are you going to be going to?
I would like to go. I will schedule myself as tentative.
Gunn, would you like to go?
I would love to play this. I will be in Chicago at MagicCon. However, I will be playing the Pro Tour. If I don't day 2 for any reason, then this is a pretty sweet consolation prize. Though there is also a Pro Tour Players PTQ, which I will probably also end up playing if I don't day 2. But we'll see how that goes. But I will definitely keep tabs on this because this sounds like an awesome event.
I hope it's not conflicting with the Secret Lair tournament too, because that's also amazing EV. But it also says you get a trophy for this Pauper. The winner gets a trophy.
That's pretty sick.
Did you see the cosplay trophy from Worlds?
I might have.
It is sick. So
Yeah.
I hope this is like equally as sick.
I quite off topic real quick though. Did either of you see the trophy for Eternal Weekend this weekend? It is like this glass blue mana symbol, and it looks absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, that's the RC trophy.
Oh, is it the RC trophy?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
All the RC trophies
not Eternal
look
Weekend.
like it. No. Sorry to burst your bubble.
We got any other closing thoughts? That was kind of an off tangent, but very worth mentioning because this is so hype.
It's so hype. We're so hyped for this. It's cool, and it's cool to be like dipping our toes into the podcast pool when this is coming up. So it'd be cool to kind of hype this up if people are interested.
Yeah, I agree.
Hell yeah.
Already, fam. Thanks for listening. If you made it this far, we love you. Be safe. Take care. See y'all in February.
Well, hopefully sooner than that.
You'll hear us, but we'll see you in February for sure.
Hell yeah.
I'll ditch my family. All right.
Peace out, fam.
Later, everyone.
Yeah, no, I mean, rewind.